Wednesday, June 12th. Welcome back to the Damon Brew Show, brought to you by Ike Sandwiches. And we got a great one for you today. You know, when you're good friends with, when you've been mentored by, when you know very well one of the single greatest sports talk show hosts in the history of the medium, you should probably tap into that resource more often than I actually do. But he's a busy man. The guy's working harder than James Brown. Someone should throw a cape on him at the end of his shows. He's been covering the Raiders for the better part of 25 years. He certainly has his fingerprints all over Bay Area sports talk radio. The man, the myth, the legend, who I've already officially buttered up probably a little bit too much. JT Rick. How are you, pal?
My friend, I love you. I love coming on with you. Thanks for the great opening and the intro, as we like to say in the MC business. And right back at you. I'm proud to be your friend. I think what you do is incredible. And I love watching this platform grow every day as I'm trying to slowly chase you down in this space, which will not happen anytime soon. But I launched a YouTube channel, JT the Brick YT, and I'm learning a lot from you because you're teaching a master class in this.
Well, you're too kind, man. Again, when you get pushed off the pirate ship, everyone's like, wow, you walked that gangplank really, really well. Well, thank you very, very much. You know, I learned an awful lot of the tricks of the trades from you, man. So anything we can do to help grow in a new space, which again, remember, ESPN's paying Stephen A. Smith like $11 million a year, and he's more interested in YouTube than I think he is in ESPN right now. So we're going in a new direction, in a new era. And man, you know, new direction and new era for the Raiders. And I wanted to have you in here because you're so close to the team. You know it so well, and they're interesting. You know, the Raiders are officially a team that is looking at its fork in the road, and they're about to get better, or they're going to be stuck in the fact that it's a quarterback league, and that's still an incomplete. But mandatory minicamp has officially opened up. I know that you're around the team at that incredible practice facility. First impressions, my friend, what about the Raiders' early return to 2024 has caught your eye? What rookie, what veteran has impressed you early in minicamp?
All right, first off, I've been around the team a lot the last couple of days and in the offseason, and they're much better. They're much better than they were last year, and they were an 8-win team. They only got better, and we'll get into why. And they're a lot looser. They're having a lot more fun because they made a coaching change, or really a regime change. And they made that pivot quickly. To Mark Davis's credit, you know, he went out and hired Josh McDaniels to win with that Patriot way, and the plan was vetted, and it was really vetted. It didn't work. And fortunately, you had Antonio Pierce in-house. Players didn't like the atmosphere they were under. They were walking on eggshells. I hosted Media Day on Monday, and I interviewed 15 players and 2 coaches. And without me asking the question, they were coming to me saying, oh, my God, this is so different. I'm like, what? Eric Allen might be a Hall of Famer coming up next year. He said, isn't this different? It is different because the Raiders are much looser. So the team's better. Even if you don't like the quarterbacks that we'll get to, Aiden O'Connell won down the stretch. He's better than at the end of last year. They brought in Gardner Minshew, who's won games in this league. But the roster is right where it needs to be now. They got studs on offense with Devontae Adams, the 2 tight end set that they're going to break out. And the defense is pretty good with Christian Wilkins coming over, arguably top 3 defensive tackle in the league. So longer story, I'll cut it down. The Raiders are better than you think. Not you, your audience here. They're getting disrespected more than ever. More people aren't looking at them more than ever because they don't believe they have a quarterback.
What about Antonio Pierce fits? What about this? What about the new look good, feel good, play good Raiders is the feel good?
It's Antonio Pierce straight out of Compton, growing up a Raider fan in LA, winning a Super Bowl with the Giants, and it's a dream scenario for him. I don't know if he ever would have been a head coach. I think he would have been, but he was in the perfect situation when the Josh McDaniels firing came and Mark Davis came to a few people and figured out he was the guy that had control of that locker room and was a player, because they could have hired Patrick Graham to be the head coach. He's a really good D coordinator, Damon. I think he'll be a head coach next year at this time. They went with Antonio Pierce, and he's been close to perfect. He's high energy. He wants the players to be themselves. If this is the biggest thing you can take away from our conversation, is that Max Crosby's already himself, right? Devontae Adams is already himself. He's telling everybody, go do your thing. Let it fly. Don't worry about getting reprimanded. Don't worry about getting called out in a meeting in front of your teammates. Let it fly and have fun, from the cigar parties in the locker room to the players and the camaraderie, what they do outside the field here. We're going to Costa Mesa for training camp, which is a very important topic because you can't stay in Vegas when it's 114. 107 yesterday. You can practice in the morning, but the players don't want to get up at 5:30 to practice at 7.
Yeah, 107 should never be a temperature. That sounds like a radio station.
Absolutely. So he's plugged into the team and the players. Now he's got to go win games. And remember, Damon, he doesn't get the job if he doesn't win at the end of last year. Put up 63 points, a franchise record against the Chargers, beat the Chiefs on Christmas Day, sweep the Broncos. That's 8 in a row against the Broncos. So the Raiders do have some pretty good momentum, and I think people are going to be surprised at how good this roster is if they take a look at it.
Max Crosby, pound for pound, can be in the best player in football conversation. I mean, he is that good. He is that special. The move that I think makes this defensive line officially scary is, like you said, adding Christian Wilkins, who is so good against the new style of football everyone is playing. I think defensive end value is about to be muted by the ball is out on that third step drop with everybody now. It is snap football, ball out instantly. Christian Wilkins is one of the best defensive pass rushers from D tackle in this league against three-step drops. If he is in quarterback's laps and then Max Crosby is closing down at the edge, that's a handful. This could be the best defensive line in the AFC West, at the very least, maybe in the AFC.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's that good. And Malcolm Kuntz, who had a breakout year on the other defensive end.
Yeah.
How about the Raiders drafted number 7 overall in the first round a year ago, Tyree Wilson, who came in with a foot injury, and they brought him along slowly. He's a beast, and they might have to move him to defensive tackle to play next to Wilkins, or they're going to have him come in these NASCAR packages. I'm happy you're seeing this because this is really the shot that the Raiders have before we get to quarterback. Here's the big hidden gem for the Raiders this year. If what happens, what you say, and I agree with you, if Wilkins changes everything from the interior, and Max is still double teamed, he has to be chipped and double teamed with the tight end, and Malcolm Kuntz continues what he did last year, the ball's going to come out. And when the ball comes out, or teams don't get 3 first downs before they get a touchdown, and the Raiders continue to get the ball back, that's going to change the season win total of 6.5, 7. That's going to change a game, maybe against a team that's favored by more than 3 or 4 points, and that could happen. But we're going to have to see it. And I talked to a lot of their defensive backs on Monday. You know, Marcus Epps played in the Super Bowl for the Eagles. Trayvon Merrick. Jack Jones came over and had a big year. Antonio Pierce coached him since he was 13. Those guys should have a better year because of Christian Wilkins and Max Crosby together. So I like that.
Before we go any further, got to thank the sponsors who make it all possible, starting with this guy right here, Ike of Ike Sandwiches. You can get one in Las Vegas. We need to get JT the Brick on the menu in Las Vegas to start with. I feel national deliciousness coming your way eventually, but get yourself to Ike Sandwiches. Thousands of combinations for you. The perfect sandwich is waiting for you there. Use the Ike's app to make your order for delivery or pickup. Start earning your way to free sandwiches. And you know, great San Francisco bars, the Dubliner in West Portal, JT, has come aboard as a sponsor here on the show. My man Kenny, who is one of the great bartenders in this town, has got a perfectly poured Guinness and a shot waiting for you when you walk on into a great bar in West Portal. Tell him that Damon sent you, and tell him that JT the Brick sent you as well. The name still rings out in these streets. Thanks so much to my sponsors. Let's talk about this quarterbacking situation. Who starts more games for the Raiders this year? Neither guy gets hurt. Injury's not a factor. Who's starting more games? Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell?
Great question. I got it wrong last year with Jimmy Garoppolo because everyone said he was going to get hurt, and you can't be a sports talk host employed by the team and predict injuries. And Garoppolo played well when he wasn't hurt. Aiden O'Connell deserves to get the keys to the quarterback position to start. He does. The NFL screwed the Raiders over because they opened up against the Harbaugh brothers. Jim on the West Coast and John at Baltimore on the road week 1 and 2. Thank you. Thank you for that. I don't know anybody has to do that. We got both Harbaugh brothers week 1 and 2. Aiden O'Connell's got to come out and win one of those games. Just one. I don't think they're going to win both. Win one. The Charger game would be really important. If he does, I think he has the keys to the Antonio Pierce Impala that he drives for a while. If he doesn't play good early and the Raiders dig a hole because their schedule's not easy early, it opens up, but it's not easy early, then Gardner Minshew could be the kickstart. Now, the question's going to become, as you're a football guy, that they're going to be playing 12 personnel. They're going to be running 2 tight ends now. And they have the greatest tight end of all time in college history, no debate. No one's ever won 2 national championships and 2 Mackey Awards other than Brock Bowers. And then Michael Mayer was a stud at Notre Dame, also won the Mackey Award. Now, Luke Getsy, who you know well, Luke Getsy comes over from Chicago, and he has to employ this 12-man personnel with 2 tight ends, Davante Adams, Jacoby Myers, Zamir White, running back out of Georgia. And that thing, Damon's got to work quickly. This isn't, we're not getting a tune-up here for 6 weeks. Whatever they're running now and in Costa Mesa better be jacked up and ready to go. If Aiden O'Connell doesn't turn it over and the ball's coming out quickly, it's his job. If anything trips up, I would say after week 3, 4, or 5, put the cape on Gardner Minshew. He'll go to the old Jim Plunkett locker, take the cape out and go in there and try to get a miracle and get the Raiders back into it. That's how I see it. It's Aiden O'Connell's job to lose.
If you find the right quarterback, if you don't find the right quarterback, if he's on the roster, not on the roster, you're running this 2 tight end set. Again, the Brock Bowers pick is a sexy pick. I get it. But you also had the entirety of the defensive side of the draft to choose from. There's no doubt Raiders might have looked quarterbacks that you were interested in, that the point you were picking all off the board at that point. I think that the Falcons taking Penix was the monkey wrench thrown into maybe the draft plan B being Brock Bowers. Very interesting. But again, Michael Mayer was filling that role of young tight end. Are we looking at, a Gronk, Aaron Hernandez level of 100%. Offense? And how ironic that would be the offense you find the year after you go away from McDaniel.
Brilliant point. You just nailed it. They have no choice. They have, and this is all due respect to Kelce and Kittle. Kelce and Kittle were nowhere near the players in college and played at the platform in college that Mayer did at Notre Dame and that Bowers did at Georgia. Not even close. And they're the 2 of the greatest tight ends we've seen in 30 years. I'm not saying one of these 2 guys should be the next Kelce or Kittle. Got a chance to get 2 of them. Both of them won't be that because there's only one football. And, look at here. That's Davante Adams. You think he's going to need some touches? He's going to need some touches. So they're going to run this offense. And, Damon, let me tell your audience what's going to happen. The Raiders are going to break the huddle with Michael Mayer on the left, Brock Bowers on the right. I'd even line him up in the slot. I wouldn't even line him up at tight end. He's sick. You're going to have Davante Adams. You're going to have Jacoby Myers. And if you want a long shot, this Trey Tucker, who's like a young, phenom, fast player. When that huddle breaks, Davante's going to have the double team. You're going to have a safety and a corner over the top on Davante. That'll never change. Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers are both going to be in single coverage on a linebacker or a safety. Luke Getsy has to see this now in June and put together an offense where Aiden O'Connell's checking at the line of scrimmage or Gardner Minshew and getting the ball out. This Brock Bowers is so good that you can throw him the ball at the line of scrimmage. He's got a 15-minute YouTube channel just on his greatest plays, and he catches it at the line of scrimmage, and he goes 35 yards, and he outruns corners. So this has to work. If that works, then NFL Network and ESPN and Fox will say, wow, man, it's week 4. Look at the Raiders. Look at this radical offense that they're employing there, and they have a chance. If they can't get that offense to be smooth and easy and dominant, that could be a problem here. So Luke Getsy's got a lot of pressure on him. He's got a lot of Christmas toys under the tree. He's got a great bleeping wide receiver and tight end room. They got to do something with it.
Who's leading the team in carries this year? I hate your running back room.
Zamir White played in the last 4 games for the Raiders because Josh Jacobs was hurt and done. He averaged 4.7 yards a carry as the Raiders were trying to chase and get in the back door of the playoffs. He was the featured star back at Georgia for a national championship. I don't know how you can hate a guy like that. Every other running back in this league had to start as a rookie, had to start as a backup, and this guy backed up Josh Jacobs and saw his work ethic, played well down the stretch. And Damon, here's something, a nugget for your audience. If you lined up all 32 running backs in the NFL on a field and told them all to take off their shirt, every single coach would go, "What the F is that over there?" No, we didn't say linebackers. We didn't say Dre Greenlaw. We didn't say that. He is a beast, but he's got to prove himself. And then Alexander Madison, who started in Minnesota last year for a bunch of it, he'll be the backup. It's another thing that we're talking about today as friends. They're not getting any credit. Like, no one's saying, "Hey, man, Zamir White played at Georgia. He might be freaking good." Or this or that. Everybody's assuming because they're the Raiders and the Raiders get mocked and they're on, by the way, they're on the cover of Madden and Christian McCaffrey's running away from the Raiders. What the hell is that? I mean, what the hell kind of shrapnel did the Raiders get on that? What the hell was that? You couldn't have had him running away from a Seahawk, a Ram. Oh, how about the Cowboys? You couldn't have the star with him evading too. You had to put the Raiders, Damon, on the cover of Madden. Come on.
Hey, it's just those uniforms look so good that you want them on the cover too. They really do. JT, I wanted my favorite draft pick that the Raiders made, though. The 49ers I thought were going to look center early in this draft, so I did deep dives on centers. Jackson Powers Johnson. How does he look early on? If that guy's anything other than a stud, I'll be surprised, man. I love that pick.
Yeah, I'm happy you know him, man. You're really well researched on this. I interviewed him first or second on Media Day, and it's at the Raiders YouTube channel. It's a really good deep dive with him. And he looked at me and Eric Allen and Q Myers, and he said, "I'm a psycho." I didn't bring it up. He said, "I'm a psycho. I want to play in front of psycho fans." It's the perfect fit for him. He was a great center. He's not playing center. Got Andre James to a new contract. Raiders have a center. He's going to start at left guard or right guard, this freak. So the Raiders think so much of him. They drafted him high. They're going to start him on the offensive line at guard, along with Colt Miller, who's one of the top 5 left tackles in football. The only really hole the Raiders have is right tackle. They got Thayer Mumford out of Ohio State in year 2, and I think they have a hole at corner. And don't be surprised if you see one of these corners from a really good team like the Niners or a really good team around the league, a top team that has to let go of a corner because there's too much competition, and the Raiders sign a starting cornerback at the end of camp. And other than that, that's where I see when it comes to the draft. But back to your original thoughts on him out of Oregon. He was born to be a Raider, and you don't say that much. Brock Bowers was not born to be a Raider. He lived in Napa. He wasn't a Raider fan. He's a great kid, played at Georgia. But this kid from Oregon is a Raider. And after the death of the great Jim Otto, the offensive line hero, the first original Raider, this guy even gets that. So I hope he plays well this year, and he'll get tested early because he's going up against the Ravens and the Chargers, going up against Bosa and Khalil Mack in the first week. That's going to be fun to watch.
You and I have been covering an awful lot of football in all of our years covering football, and we officially have the most unique wrinkle that any season's ever seen added to it coming up this year with the hybrid kickoff. There is going to be a 32-team race in the NFL to figure out the best way, the right body type, the right returner you want in this new hybrid kickoff. I went down to 49er training camp in Santa Clara, and, they ask you to put your phones away. But if you film a little session with your phone, they'll come up and be like, "Hey, can you put your phone away?" If you even had a phone out around this special team session, I think they had a sniper on top of Levi Stadium to pick you off. Like, this is how protective the Niners are about this new hybrid kickoff. How is it being handled in Vegas?
Great question. I don't know much about it yet from just seeing a little bit of it at OTAs, obviously now at minicamp. What I didn't like it initially. Just like I don't like a ghost runner on second base in the 10th inning. I don't like it. Okay, I don't like the NBA when big men shoot threes. You know that. I lose my
Right.
mind.
We fear change. We're in generation fear change. We don't like change.
Yeah, and so I'm sitting here and I'm going, why are we taking the foot out of football? Like, we don't want anybody to catch a punt. We don't want anybody to take back a kick. So they come up with this new rule. It's going to force more returns, but you're going to put them in a box because where you line them up, the whole key to this gimmick is you don't get a running start. So you don't got a gunner coming down 40 yards ready to take someone's head off.
It takes it turns it into a stretch play, like an outside zone run. It's going to be fascinating to see what team does what with it, who's conservative with it, who's aggressive with it, who's running trick plays and eye candy around it. I mean, there are 32 special team coordinators right now who have no idea what to even expect because they've never even coached it before.
Yes, and here's what I think from looking at this. Here's what I think could be really cool. I think you're going to see some offensive linemen on the kickoff because follow me for a second. If you want to create a wedge, right, because you're going to be tight together, you got a backup offensive lineman, and the Raiders have a 6'8" backup tight end. They're on special teams. They're on the left side. You're going to bring that kick. You have to return it to the left side. You got a gunner coming down. You got a wide receiver or a backup running back on special teams. You got an offensive lineman putting his hands on that guy, throwing him down, a 6'8" tight end, taking another guy out. You can get a touchdown. That's one of the wrinkles I think you're going to see. And you nailed it, man. The only thing that I'm just so freaking pissed about is you can't have an onside kick anymore without alerting. So let me get this straight. Antonio Pierce is supposed to go, Kyle, Kyle, we're going to do an onside kick right now. How? Right. What has happened to the pussification? What is going on with the NFL that we now have to tell Andy Reid because we're down 10 at the half and we want to get the crowd going with an onside kick and we got to let Andy know. What the hell was that all about, Damon?
We live in a world of trigger warnings and onside warnings, and literally, I'm showing like my boys are watching Bed Knobs and Broomsticks on Disney Plus, and there's like a trigger warning, like you will see a possible cigarette in the following movie. Look out, everybody! Like I think we'll be able to survive it. I really do. Just a funny world we're living in. And how about this, man? News broke not too long before we started talking. The passing of Jerry West as we go into Game 3 of the NBA Finals. Jerry West would be universally disrespected because he's 1-8 in the NBA Finals in the ring culture that all these morons try to follow now. This is one of the truly great players, one of the great sports lives ever lived. Hall of Fame player, Hall of Fame executive, fingerprints over excellence that hung banners, fingerprints over very good. The grit and grind Memphis Grizzlies were the creation of Jerry West. He was smart enough to hire Phil Jackson to keep the Shaq and Kobe Lakers on the right track. He gets credited with not trading Klay Thompson for Kevin Love, which is a reason the Warriors, they hung 4 banners. He was the NBA's consigliere. Everyone went to Jerry West for advice. One of the greats.
No doubt. Real quick story. Same age as my dad. My dad was just here. My dad's my hero, my sports coach, my life mentor. And my dad's the same age, 86. Small world. My dad, who was an iconic government accountant and has a tax business, did Jerry West's sister's taxes for years. A small world. And my dad grew up in the era, the same age, where he knew all about Jerry West. So as a kid, I knew all about Jerry West, the player. And you nailed it, 1-8 in the finals. A couple of those games he lost by 1 bucket. 1 bucket in Game 7, 2 of them. He lost the national championship by 2 points in college. He was, for a time, the greatest player of all time. The Jordan debate with LeBron now and Kareem's on the Mount Rushmore. For a long period of time, Damon, there was no debate that Jerry West was clearly a top 4 player to ever live. And that was going up against Bill Russell and the Celtics and losing all the time. He was that deeply respected. And I lived in LA for 10 years during that dynasty and saw that up close, had an opportunity to interview him a few times. The logo, rest in peace to Jerry West. Everybody should just go to YouTube, type in Jerry West. and watch how he dominated the game of basketball on and off the court.
Think the Mavs climb back into a series tonight, or is it Celtics up 3-0 and
Yeah.
that's basically it?
A couple of things on that. As a New York sports fan, I root against the Celtics mightily. Red Sox, Celtics, I never want to see them win.
As you
They're
should.
the best team. I thought they were going to be pushed a little bit more. I was sitting courtside with you when the Warriors had to work, right? They had to work in the finals. They played some really good teams, and the West was pretty packed, and you could just tell the Warriors were a dynasty, and they played like a dynasty. The Celtics, they're not a dynasty with this team. I wish Denver made it. I wish Denver would have woke up and made it, because I think Denver, Boston would have gave us 6 or 7 games. What a dog Kyrie Irving is. I am not buying into this kumbaya bullshit that Kyrie Irving, he's matured. He's seen the light. Look at Kyrie. I cover this. I cover sports for a living. He was garbage with Boston and Brooklyn. He was a terrible teammate. Yeah, there were some COVID issues that we don't have to revisit here, and one of the reasons he wasn't available. But I'm not a Kyrie guy. And have you ever seen a guy in the first 2 games of a series, Damon, with more on the line, be an absolute bleeping no-show than Kyrie Irving? I would assume he's going to have a big game tonight.
It felt like, the basketball Kyrie was sort of reborn in the second half of this season, but it has not followed him into the finals. There's some guys who get into buildings or see uniforms and they forget how to play, and he sees Celtics, and I think it messes with him. He gets in his own head. Right. Do you know how many threes Kyrie has hit so far in the NBA Finals?
Not
0. He has yet to hit a 3 through 2 games. He's got to hit a few tonight. I want a series. Just give me a freaking series. This has been the worst NBA playoffs I can remember. It's just terrible. We had 1 game 7.
What are you talking about? We got Caitlin Clark. I got Caitlin Clark every day, man. Every year we get a gift. Every year we get a gift. When Terrell Owens was doing sit-ups in the driveway, Barry Sanders retired, didn't let anybody know. Every summer, we get a gift from the sports radio gods, from the streaming gods, and this gift, Caitlin Clark in the Olympics, being left off the team is amazing.
Here's what I want. Steal this segment, use it on your show today. Here's what I want Caitlin Clark to do at the Olympics. I want her to buy a courtside seat. I want her to just go to the Olympics, get a courtside seat, and have the entire broadcast in camera being Caitlin Clark is here, even though she's not even playing. That's what I want for all those women on the U.S. women's national team. Caitlin still overshadows them all. That would be something else. You and I, look, and I know you got to run. We'll wrap up with this because you're going back to Sphere to see the Dead & Co. this weekend. I wish I could be there with you. I was there for nights 3 and 4 of Phish. If you ask me what I did for a living, essentially what I do for a living is I describe shit for a living. That's what I do. I describe shit for a living. You do the same thing. I cannot describe the Sphere. I can't describe it. People ask me, how was the show? I can't describe it. It's the most remarkable concert experience a human being can actually have or see from an audio visual standpoint. It's indescribable, and I describe shit for a living. How would you even try to describe Sphere to somebody?
It's hard. I've seen probably over 1,000 concerts in my life for real. And when I saw U2, and I'm a U2 fan, I'm a fan, but I'm a big Rush fan. I saw them 54 times. Seen the Dead with Jerry 15 times. U2 at the Sphere went to one right out of the gate because what they did at the Sphere blew me away. You saw Phish, I didn't. I'm going into Dead & Company. I'm excited for it. It's hard. I've gone to 2 concerts since I've been to the Sphere recently, and it's hard. I saw Pearl Jam at the MGM Grand. It was spectacular, but there was no backdrop.
Right.
Just a band, a little bit. You could see Eddie, and I said, I'm cool with this. But any band that can play the Sphere, and remember, you have to invest money if you're going to play the Sphere. You got to put in $1 million like the Dead did plus and Phish to build that artwork, and then you got to be good. So you cannot play that Sphere unless you're great. And you're not going to see Vince Neil come out there with Motley Crue. You're not going to see Axl Rose try to do a set there because they'll all get exposed. So to wrap it up, it's the greatest concert experience of all time. It's priced that way. It's pretty pricey, but it's worth it. You'll come out of there saying, how am I ever going to do anything in my life again remotely close to this? And then you buy a ticket and go back again.
Yeah, it's so unique. Again, Jillian and I are going to get back for a dead show before it's said and done.
Please do.
It was so good to talk to you. You want to talk about mind-bending experience? JT the Brick on the radio. It's as good of a show as you're going to find anywhere. Great to talk to you, brother. I know you got to run and hop into yet another broadcast. Thank you for joining us here today. We are all wiser and better off for it, brother. You take care.
Yeah, let's do more of this because, again, I really think for the help of my channel launch and how great you are at this and how good our friendship is, I think me and you can talk sports as good as any two people on the planet. And I have to remind people of that because 95.7 The Game never took out a billboard and said how great I was. They just watched the Raiders get ripped off the flagship, and I wasn't able to wave goodbye. So I'll do it with you here, and let's continue doing this.
Yeah, I got no formal goodbyes either.
Well, that's a podcast. Me and you really need to fucking rip the roof off and do a podcast on Bay Area sports talk. Most of it's great. I got a couple of hidden gems. that I'd like to wait to give you exclusively. We'll do that.
We will do that. Take care, brother.
Take care, my buddy. Be good. Later.
There he is, the one and only, the legend himself, JT the Brick. Great guy. Let me tell you, you need someone like that in your corner. That guy, all he does is have backs. He's got your back every single time you look up. Who's that behind me? Oh, it's JT the Brick supporting me once again in my career, somehow, some way. That's the man right there. He's good people through and through. An awful lot this morning on Wake Up with Larry Krueger. You need anything about what is a slow-moving week in sports and in NFL news. Again, Brandon Ayuk, I don't want to go over this contract situation anymore, really ever again. I am tired of it. I really am. Lots of love for JT. Great having you all here. And I have a day off and alone. Jillian's in Atlanta. The boys are in pre-K. I am going to have lunch. I am going to have a nice, calm afternoon. I am going to mow my lawn. I'm going to dip into the JJ Raider Ganja jar here. So that means I got to get going. Thanks so much to everyone who's tuned in. Like and subscribe, please, on your way out. Wonderful having you in here today. Thank you so very, very much to JT for stopping on by. Go get a Guinness at the Dubliner West Portal. Get a sandwich from Ike's today. And remember that sports don't build character, they reveal it. And like that, he's gone.